Now, it's time for the Anchormen podcast with Matt Gaetz and Dan Ball.
Welcome back to a show we call Anchormen. I'm Matt Gaetz, host of the Matt Gaetz Show here on One America News. We are on every single weeknight, 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific. You can also download the OAN live app at oann.com. And this is our fun weekly project where we bring some of the interesting people that we know from around the America First movement and even around the building here at One America News together to talk about what's on our mind. And as always, I am joined by the OG producer of Steve Bannon's War Room, the producer on the Matt Gaetz Show, Vish Burough. Vish, thanks for joining.
Always a pleasure, Matt.
And making her Anchorman debut, Dana Alexa, one of the great anchors that we have here on One America News. So really, I guess at the beginning, what life choices have you made that have culminated in you sitting here with us in the One America News studio for this discussion?
Clearly bad ones. If I'm out here with you two guys, no. I had this vision when I was in the 7th grade that I've always wanted to be in journalism and join journalism and be like on the big screen. I grew up watching Fox with my dad. Shocker.
Who was your favorite Fox host growing up?
Growing up, I had a couple. I love Stossel. I still watch Stossel to this day.
Yeah.
He has like great clips. And then obviously like OG Tucker. I was a little bit older.
Bowtie Tucker.
Yeah.
That was Bowtie Tucker.
Good taste.
I mean, I was watching it like at such a young age, and then throughout my college years, and now we've shifted to a more alternative media. I think where we are, and so now we look to more independent journalists. But yeah, I was an OG Fox girl.
Nice.
People said that I was the love child of Tucker Carlson and Laura Ingraham.
Okay.
I'm not making that up.
That's a heck of an intro.
That was one comment under a YouTube post, and I'll never forget it. And then I was just like, okay, I'm going to brand myself like that.
I don't even think those two get along.
Well,
I wouldn't know.
I'm not even sure they're friends.
I mean, a love child, I feel like would be very strong. I feel like you have a very strong heart. That's what that.
So, what are your favorite stories to cover here at OAN?
I like everything. I like to pick apart a lot of stuff. And
culture, economics,
like
foreign
culture.
policy.
You know what I think? I like the culture wars stuff, but what I like about it is I like to get on both sides. Like I like to get on the Republicans a bit and the Democrats a bit. It's kind of like when I'm with friends too. Like when I'm with my more conservative Republican friends, I get a little bit more liberal. I have a little bit more liberal perspective, and then vice versa. Don't worry, I'll silence my phone.
Does that work? Can you still have friends, Vish, that are on both sides that you razz? Like, do you still in 2025 have like liberal friends that you go back to and tease, or are we so shirts and skins at this point where that's not really a part of friend formation anymore?
No, I have liberal friends that I go to all the time, and I consult them all the time because I want that perspective. I don't want to lose that, right? Like I want to be able to see the other side and understand what they're seeing, what they're digesting, because that helps me make my decisions on not just news coverage, but some political calculations as well and stuff like that. So I think it's an invaluable perspective. And my friends who know me before all the politics stuff, and most of them are like that. So even if they're liberal, so they talk to me honestly because I'm Vish, not because I'm Republican.
And that's actually really important, because imagine how boring life is just being surrounded by only Republicans in the conservative perspective. There's the echo chamber. There's nothing new coming out. And it gives you kind of the challenge to also bring back with you to your more conservative friends. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, have you ever thought of this? It's probably like not the best opinion, but it's something to think about.
Yeah.
Plus, I like to get into debates, so.
I think that was far more pervasive before January 6th. I used to hold the view that both of you hold. And what I have to tell you is after January 6th, 2021, if you were on the left, you could no longer have like intelligent, reasonable discourse or razzing or mockery, because there was such a they were so chastened by it. They were so like off put by that. This was the end of the republic because of like one riot when they had just spent a summer defending a series of riots and death of police officers and harm to our federal buildings. But after January 6, 2021, I really lost like a lot of the people throughout my life that I might have played baseball with or been in scouting with, and they were just like, oh, the fact that you didn't vote to certify Pennsylvania means it's over between us. And I'm not saying that I'm any the better for it, but it lays over our politics in a totally unnecessary way.
I think it's maybe your experience is a little more acute because I think a lot of people do know you so much through politics and that you have the power, right? Because
you're saying it wasn't my baseball career that was cut short, the lack of talent.
No.
That's what I know you for.
Yes, I was.
Forget your time in politics. Who
I
cares?
could throw out a runner at any base as a Little League catcher. So when we ask people to come on the program, we ask them to think about one macro big question in the news or politics or society that we can kick around for a while. So ladies first. Dana, Alexa, give us your big question, and then I'm bringing in a very special guest for expert commentary.
Love it. So there's this ongoing war right now brewing in the GOP, and you're going to see this divide of conservative women particularly. And the question at hand is, if you're a conservative woman in this modern day and age, are you to grow up and, do the normal life stuff, get married, have kids, stay at home, do the classic housewife duties, or can you venture off, do those same things, and be a working woman? And so, in light of what happened last week, there's these two conservative influencers. One, Emily Wilson, or Emily Saves the World. She does these little car videos where she talks about politics, and she made a point, a rather contentious point, where if you're a woman in this world, have a plan beyond just becoming a stay-at-home wife and mom. Get your bag, make some money, and make a career for yourself. And that obviously has a lot of hit back, because if you're a true conservative in the true sense of the word, and if you're thinking back to the 1950s era, where women were happy, their happiest statistically was at home, taking care of the kids, feeding your husband, all the housework is clean, making sourdough bread. It was mentioned in the video. So there's a clip of that. Zach, if you wanna run Emily's clip, I'm gonna cue you in for the clip.
Hate to call out my own party, but the young girls on the right promoting this trad wife bull. I just want to make sourdough for my husband. That's great. I'm all for it. I promote traditional values. I understand. I have been working since I was very young. I don't really plan on stopping working. I suggest you find a hobby that makes you money. But you guys, guess what? Guess what, baby girl? That lifestyle working out, a man, a provider, you just get to sit at home, bake bread every day, slim to none. I would say none that's going to work out for you, or quite literally anyone you know. You're actually setting yourself up for failure, because it could not be easier, if that's what you're going to pursue, to be trapped by a man. Okay? Also, let's bring some other things to the table besides sourdough. Guys want to be mentally stimulated as well as physical, okay? But I'm just please, you guys are too young to be promoting this. And also, by the way, it's cringe.
Whoa.
There's a lot going on
that was
there.
a lot. First, let me start it off. First thing, what's wrong with sourdough? If anything, bring more sourdough.
So wait. So you disagree with that take?
No. Okay. Initially, I got into a big fight with my boyfriend about this clip. Actually, it was like a 3-hour fight.
Before I know any more,
okay,
I'm gonna need to know how long the two of you have been dating.
Okay. Fun fact. Bet you didn't know this. I'm dating Kara McKinney's brother.
Okay. Well, how long have the two of you been dating?
Almost. Oh my gosh, 2.5 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
2.5 years. So things are pretty serious.
They're heating up. Yeah, things are heating up.
Okay. All right. So after this 2.5 year relationship, you get into this dispute over this representation or this critique of the trad world. And your take is what?
So initially watching it, I was like, oh my God, I totally agree with her. I'm like, we need to do more than make sourdough. Nothing wrong with making sourdough, but my whole take is, I think if you have the choice to do both, that is wonderful. However, I think women, even if they're stay at home, have something that you can make money off of. As you never know what can happen. You need to have some type of a backup. And there's a lot of times in marriages where things don't work out. You get the divorce. I don't know how much you end up with, and then you're kind of stuck alone with the kids, and who knows what's happening in the dispute in the courts and who gets what, and
well,
money
two
lines,
things
but-
principally matter. One, how much money was there to begin with,
Sure.
which goes back to your core choice on marriage, and then two, how good is your divorce lawyer?
That is true. I just think women, again, nothing wrong with staying at home, but
So
have
you
something
agree?
passionate.
So what you're saying is there is a nugget of truth in that influencer's rant
Yes.
that you need to have something. That this notion that the trad husband is out there for every trad wife to let you just go bake sourdough doesn't exist. That's
No,
right.
I think it does. Initially, I was like riding hard for Emily. I was like, okay, Emily, I see your point. But then I watched it back a couple times, and she kind of seems a little spiteful. Like maybe she's a little jealous. So just to paint the picture, she lives in Los Angeles. So obviously we have the highest cost of living. So I think her finding a real hard, steady, conservative man, that's probably slim to none.
Oh, so you think there's a geographic bias. All right. So we've got the core take.
Yes.
Now I have to bring in the person that I believe to be the true expert on this question. Actually, when my wife, Ginger, saw that we were going to be debating this today, she did not trust Vish and I to adequately respond to and debate the intellectual point you are making. And
Okay.
so for our adult supervision, making her Anchormen debut, my wife, Ginger Gaetz. Ginger, you've seen the video. You've heard Dana's take. You've got the floor. Lay down the law. Is the trad life as unattainable as the Los Angeles influencer says, or is that something still to be held as a standard?
I think you definitely have to decouple a few things. So you can be a trad wife and also be a boss babe at the same time. So I think you can build up those skill sets. I think you can be, if you're working for a company, you're learning skills like organizational skills and leadership, which you can bring back to your family as well. And I think with this day and age, it does start to be a trad wife. You need to have, your trad husband there. And so when those are becoming fewer and fewer of those, you have to be working towards something, being passionate about something, growing your own skill set to be able to be the type of wife that trad husband would be attracted to and want to make his wife. So I think there's some truth in there. I definitely agree that there was a little bit of attitude around there being no guys out there that would be willing to support this. But I think if you're the type of woman that your only goal and that you're going to forego maybe building up yourself, your own skill sets, your own ambitions, your own career, in only pursuing the perfect sourdough, I think you can do it all.
See, she touched on something so good. It was balance. And it, like you said, Ginger, building up the skill sets like we're doing today, having the wherewithal to know what you can handle, that's great. Realistically, again, we're in California. It's a lot harder to be a trad wife. Like in this economy, for real. You almost have to work. There's no choice.
When you choose to be in a relationship with someone, you're in a relationship with the college debt they accrued, with the lease that they are currently in, and any credit card debt. Like tell me that is not a part of the relationship scale. That I believe is the only explainable reason for why Vish Burough is still single.
Oh no, Vish.
Because otherwise, he dances, he sings, he does karaoke.
Hey, Vish is a triple threat.
Oh yeah, I'm a trained
Where'd you
dancer.
been?
Jazz, tap, and ballet, actually. But
Ladies, you heard it here.
first of all,
I think it's all about.
Go ahead, Jen.
I think it's all about priorities. So if you're a woman and your priority might be to be a trad wife, then what you should be doing is building up your skill set, maybe your financial situation, so that you are that person. Because I think it is the most important decision you make in your life is who you marry. It decides your economics. It decides the values of your family. It decides your happiness. And so I think you can be working towards wanting a traditional family and being a trad wife while also building up a career. And with this day and age, with remote work, women can be working from home. There's an article last week that came out by The Economist saying that there's more and more kind of stay-at-home dads or stay-at-home husbands because the wife might be in a role like a nurse, like a teacher, which are very, very nurturing characteristics that you'd probably want in a wife, and she probably brings those back and adds to her family. So I think it's about priorities and not being so narrow focused on just wanting to be picked up by a man, because you're right in that the type of men that are out there that financially stable enough and want the traditional wife, they probably also want to be intellectually stimulated. So that is where Emily is right.
Or it's a generational boomerang swinging back. or what we're really witnessing with the return of the trad wife phenomenon is that the boomer wives waited for their husbands to get home from war and had the kitchen ready and were ready to have the kids and send those GIs off to college or to the office or to the workforce. Then you had the Gen Xers who had, I think, a real conundrum, because if you were a female Gen Xer, your mom, if she was in the workforce, was a nurse, a teacher, or a secretary. And so they had to pioneer this space, which led Gen Xer women in the workforce to be like some of the meanest women you'll ever work with, because there was only room for one. At the Ginger makes this point far better than I do. And so they were like the women that were always out to get other women. Well, I'm an elder millennial. By the time I came along, there were more women in law school than there were men. So there was never this belief that women were in a subservient position vis-a-vis professional opportunity. They were the majority by the time I got there. And now I think you see a lot of these Zoomer women who look around at the Gen X women that are unhappy, the millennial women that are unhappy and lonely and overeducated and underloved in many cases, and they think about how happy their grandmothers were.
So maybe the question is, it's not about what you're most capable at. The question is, where are women most happy? And that tends to be more than not, I guess, in the home. Now, for me personally, that wouldn't work because I'll be just very direct. I'll look in the camera when I say it. You don't want me in the kitchen. I can't make sourdough. I can barely make eggs without screwing it up. So there's only a few women. I would say a lot, actually, just not me or anybody.
By the way, a well-cooked egg requires an artistic touch.
It really does. And also, you have to have patience when you're cooking. Again, you don't want me in the kitchen. It should be illegal in all 50 states. But we're not done with this conversation. Matt Walsh weighed in on Emily's video. I think we have his tweet. Okay, here we go from Matt. A huge number of conservative influencers are actually left-wing feminists who despise the very things that conservatism, by definition, is supposed to be conserving. Good point.
Vish.
I kind of disagree with Matt Walsh, but not for the reasons that you think. And I agree with Emily and her take, but also not for the reasons that you might think. The problem I think this comes down to is like a chicken and the egg problem. Like, what comes before what?
Poorly cooked egg in Dana's kitchen.
Hopefully that doesn't come after. But what I think is going on is what was my belief is that the original intent of marriage is essentially to bring together a man and a woman who then where the woman would be the junior partner in the man's enterprise, right? And so like I've never bought into this idea that women didn't work until, the 50s, 60s, 70s in America.
Is that cultural?
No,
because I got to tell you, that has never been how my family has worked. My family is like a herd of elephants. We follow the matriarch, and everyone knows it at home. So this notion that like the man is in charge and bosses everybody around.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Ginger in our house, Ginger bosses me around every day.
But that's not what I'm saying.
Well, Vish, I think you're onto something, because there's something to say about a division of labor, right?
Yes.
If you're able to do the things you're good at and that you like to do, maybe it's not in the kitchen. I will say Matt cooks 90% of the meat, maybe 95% of what we
Whoa, that's that
100%? Come on, Matt.
Okay, yeah.
Come on, Matt. Well, he loves to cook. It decompresses him. He is better at it. He's been doing it for a longer time. I like to bake sometimes, but I'll be in charge of, maybe the mocktails. I like to do the laundry. I'll contribute in other ways. But it's a division of labor, and I don't see that as like I'm, a submission of different levels. But it's just contributing things that you as a spouse are good or worse at, and having the other person kind of fill in.
Ginger's like, it's not submission when I tell you have to take out the trash.
Well, but Ginger brings up another Ginger brings up another great point. A huge reason why so many divorces happen is because of the chores, right? And how they're divided up.
I was shocked by that.
Yes.
Did you know this, Dana?
Yes.
No.
It's about the chores.
What's the date on it? Because
I think it's number 2. I think number 1 is finances, and number 2 is chores. And that's why if you read a lot of these kind of how to be a good spouse books, they say don't let your roommate problems become your marriage problems, because it's those little things that add up every single day. It's usually not some big thing that explodes from left field. So
I know what the thing is that I do around the house that makes Ginger want to murder me.
What is it?
don't
Right?
tell everybody.
I can tell everyone my sin. Are you ready for this?
I'm not.
On my toes.
I leave wet towels anywhere.
Oh my God. Wait, me
No,
too.
you find a corner. You find like
Anywhere.
a dark.
Wait, Matt. Is it paper towels?
corner.
Is it
Oh,
paper
no,
towels?
no,
Or
no,
just
no,
Because I
not
do that
paper
sometimes.
towels.
I'll just do it and I'll just like leave it.
No.
Find
Ginger,
it.
Ginger, lay it out. Lay it out.
So he'll take not only bath towels, sometimes he'll go and dig out beach towels because they're even bigger. And then he'll just find the darkest corner in the coldest room, leave a window open and like just pour it in there. And so I'll just be walking around and I have to do kind of my towel pickup. And it's the one thing that, it's 90-10, 80-20 with the person. You love him for everything, but that's his thing that he will not be able to be trained out of. And I'm okay. You
And
know
by the way,
what?
what is the one thing you cannot be trained out of, love? What do you do around the house?
I do break a lot of glasses, but
She breaks stuff.
For what reason are you leaving
Just clumsiness.
wet
is the-
towels around? Why are you leaving wet
it's my
towels
thing.
around?
It's like
your thing.
Hansel and Gretel left
Something you do.
left the breadcrumbs. But yeah, so if you go to our house, it's shards of glass and wet towels
I'm
everywhere.
not coming over. ever.
Okay, very interesting.
No, but I like everything. Like the man, just in my household, my dad was the chef growing up. My boyfriend is a chef. I, in the kitchen, when she's talking about.
Do you do the
breaking it
dishes?
up- sometimes. It's not
So like what? So what is in your skill stack
Matt,
on the trad wife offer that
I
you've got
am
out
the
there?
entertainment. I entertain him while he cooks. I'm asking him questions. I'm making Alexa put on music. I'm dancing. I'm frolicking around.
You're the vibe setter.
I am the vibe setter. See, that's what I bring to the table, which is actually, if you think about it, much harder to do because not everyone has a good vibe. I've been around so many bad vibes, and like I can't even find an escape.
And honestly, it's not even like doing the dishes. You're selling me on this
Right?
because
Dude,
who
I'm the vibe.
yeah, and you're doing the dishes in a good vibe versus doing them in a bad vibe. It makes all the difference. You're sort of the vibe setter of the Matt Gaetz show and the Anchormen show. So are you buying the primacy on the vibe set?
Yeah, 100%. I think if you ask me, vibe setting is like
It's
very
a chore
important for the man.
All right,
yeah.
All right, Ginger. Can I replace all of my chores at the house with a good vibe set? If I prance around, if I pick the playlist.
No, you have to do a
think you're-
dance too. You have to choreograph
the dance element.
Yeah.
You do
He's pretty good.
is it a unique dance you do every night?
Yeah, do you want to see it? No, I'm just
No.
kidding. I'm not going to do that to you. No, we play Mamma Mia. I have forced him to learn the music, sing the songs. He's straight, by the way. I'm painting him like he's my gay boyfriend. No, he's super straight.
Okay.
He's in law enforcement. I promise you. I'm just setting the vibe. Okay, I just want to make that very clear that I set vibes. The vibes are vibing. The neighbors love the vibes. And
Is this what you?
that's
This
our
sounds a lot like what you do, Ginger. It sounds like when I am doing the dishes and cooking, you're always like doing vibe setting things. And it sounds like from what I've learned from Dana, I'm not appreciative enough of that trad wife performance that you bring to my daily life.
Maybe it's not trad wife. Maybe it's just the vibe wife. So I think
The
Dana's
vibe
totally right. Well, also too, how many men say that like a dog is their best friend because they come home, they're excited to see him. Like we can do that too. We can be excited to see you. We can, put on the right mood, put on the right tunes, and then appreciate when you're cooking. And when Matt does the dishes, of which he does often, I call him the dish daddy. So yeah, a little encouragement goes a long way.
Clip that.
you have many skill
Don't clip that.
sets. Wait, guys, before we get too deep,
Okay.
so there was a response to that Emily video. Wow, I should have just make this more compact. Anyways, we got long-winded. So there was a response to what Emily had to say by another conservative influencer. I think she's like Gen Z-ish, like on like she's on the Gen Z side. Her name's Sarah. We have a sod of it. Prepare yourself.
Caroline Leavitt, it's undeniable that you're doing a fantastic job as White House press secretary, but I think you should quit. There's nothing conservative about leaving your baby at home while you work a highly intensive, important, time-consuming role. Going back to work when your baby is 4 days old is a form of neglect. Babies, especially newborns, need their mothers. And the conservative movement needs to stop pushing this rebranded version of feminist ideology that says that women can do both. Because they can't. Being a mother, especially a mother to newborns, is a full-time job. Everything in life comes with sacrifices and trade-offs, especially being a parent. What America needs right now is more present mothers. We have enough girl bosses already. Please just go take care of your child.
Wow, I have a strong critique for that. As someone whose office in all of my time has been run by girl bosses who I value and appreciate to this day, that is so fake, that is so phony. Caroline Levitt is a blessing to this nation. We are so grateful that her family is able to work together and make sacrifice. And you know what? The only people who know what's going on inside a family are the people in it. And if you don't know, you should keep your mouth shut while other people are doing their job and serving the country. Women can have both if they design it. That dumb chick ought to find herself an AI agent so that she can work smarter, not harder. And while she is so many rungs below Caroline Levitt on the ladder of life, she should offer no perspective on the point. Ginger, your take.
I think that was very well said. And honestly, I think Caroline Levitt's kid is going to grow up to have an amazing perception of women, what they can do, how they can be accomplished, they can, be in life. So I think she had the absolute wrong take on that. And if you know Caroline Levitt, and she's very present with her child and every moment she gets. So she's being a role model. She has a support system. And I think that is absolutely the worst take. And actually, you know what? I think this goes back to what you were talking about earlier, how some women just, there's no room for other women to be successful and them, not feel bad about themselves. So of course she's being picked on because she's very successful and being a mother and slaying it as a boss babe. So yes, I mean, she can do it all. And I think that's the terrible take by that Gen Zer.
Honey, I am so grateful you had my back on that because I had a few offerings there that you validated that a lot of they-thems are going to be very upset about on Twitter when they see this. But one final point on this from each of you. Vish first.
Yeah, look, I want to go back to my point that by the way, on the Caroline Levitt thing, she's amazing and totally capable. And I've worked with women my whole life, mostly until I got into politics and I had men who were my bosses and my teammates.
Well,
I mean, yeah, and one queen named George Santos. But yes, we love Katara.
Love Katara.
But I want to just say that I think that a lot of this is coming down to like who's on whose program. Like I think one person in the relationship, like I said, for most of history, women, when married with men, they became the junior partner of the man's enterprise, like a farm and then she would keep the books or something like that. And she's still in the home, right? And still able to raise kids, but also maintain business. I've never bought into this idea that women should be stay-at-homes and not make money. I think most of history with most people that does not reflect. And I encourage women who are really great at certain things and certain skills to go and pursue that. But, also you got to find a man who's on your program if you're the boss babe. So I think that is also part of the equation.
He's single and DMs are open. Dana, final point on your great question.
Oh my gosh, it's so hard. I'm just going to go off real quick. Okay, Sarah, I don't know who you are. You look like you were born yesterday. So she's like very fresh on the Gen Z. She's like just too new to have an opinion on it. She's acting like she hasn't seen the reality of working women and stay at home. You can do both. You just need a little bit of money, but it's possible you can do both. Just imagine Caroline Levitt hearing this. Imagine being tapped by President Trump. You're going to be the White House press secretary, a prestigious role, and then you go back to Trump and you're like, actually, no thanks. I'm going to pass up this once in a lifetime offer. Because I just feel like staying at home and I can't hire someone or have friends. I mean, she has a support system, let's be honest. She's able to do it. You're not going to want to pass. And then as the kid watching your mother grow up in this role, how cool is it for that kid to be like, my mom was the White House press secretary, the youngest White House press secretary. How cool. She made history. And I think maybe Sarah's a little bit jealous. But the funny part about what she's saying, because she came in so hot and so strong, is that she is at home, makeup on, doing podcasting. Why isn't she a stay-at-home mom? That's a grift. That's what we call a grift.
Harsh hot take. Ginger, thank you so much for being on the program. We appreciate you, appreciate your perspective. Thank you for having my back.
Thanks for having me.
All right. I'm so excited when we get our Merryweather Farm shipments in. You get a beautiful piece of ribeye. Look at that marbling. Now, I take it out of the package, let it get down to room temperature. All I've got on here is a little salt, a little pepper, and then a little avocado oil. And then I've had my pan preheating with a little oil.
Head to merryweatherfarms.com and enter promo code MattG for 15% off your first order.
See ya. All right,
Bye,
Vish,
everyone.
your big question of the week.
All right. What's caught my eye, because I've flown out of this airport and flown into this airport many times, Newark Airport is having a catastrophic meltdown right now that's ongoing, and where the officials, the airport people, and some of our own officials have basically said that this is going to be a problem that lasts weeks. Deal with it. They're dealing with mass cancellations, technical outages on their radar systems and stuff, staffing shortages, delays, cancellations, you name it. And it is the nightmare, trip from hell for any person that has a flight that they're expecting to take out of Newark. And my question is flying today, or the way flying and air travel is set up today, totally outdated and onerous and cumbersome to the point that we need to reimagine the system? All right. And my basis is that I want my flying cars, especially since after the pandemic, the people want, I think, more individualized transport where they're not sharing air in a tube with 100 people, let's say. And the airline industry being one of the most regulated in America, right? The airline industry is what we point at when we say, oh, this is the reason why we don't have mass train transit and bullet trains in this country, because you could get on a plane and be in LA from New York in 5 hours, right? I think that air travel today has just become onerous, too time consuming. I would rather prefer to drive door to door from DC to New York than get on a flight, because I actually think it takes longer from door to door to try and take a flight to New York from DC than it is to
I'll
drive.
race
I will beat you. And I've definitely done it
You
before.
would do the drive from DC to New York?
I've done it over 1,000 times,
okay.
just because of how much I hate flying, especially because you think about it, it takes.
Depends on what you're flying.
So, wait. So your critique here on this news story is not a critique of this just being so utterly Newark.
Well, I mean, yeah,
You're using it as a platform to critique air travel broadly.
yeah, absolutely.
Because just to me, and I'll let you get back on your point, to me, this is just so Newark that nothing works. Everything's kind of out. Like, they're still using copper wires. And there's a sneaky little soft underbelly of the swamp of government in local government around these airport authorities. You look at these major metropolitan airports, Miami, Orlando, Newark, LaGuardia, O'Hare, they are multi-billion-dollar annual budgets, huge construction contracts, luggage contracts, security contracts, and it is governed by a board of unelected people who are typically connected to the donor class and the group of interests who are drawing those resources into their own bank accounts. And anytime you go shine a light on a lot of these airport boards, there is grimy and grisly corruption going on. And by the way, if you speak out about that, it's like, your body's going to be found underneath runway number 17 that they're constructing right now, Jimmy Hoffa style. And when you look at why these delays are happening in Newark, it's not just like the weather. It's that they have delayed the key technical upgrades, and there was an event that occurred where for some term of time, connection was down with the controllers.
Which is
devastating. And that is devastating. That is horrific. But thereafter, a bunch of the controllers had to take time off from work for the mental stress of them not being connected. No Florida man would do this. Florida man would be back at work the next day. And so, to me, that is a core issue here. Not air. Look, you want to complain about air travel? Airplanes take off and land like every day in this country. A tube of metal flies through the air, and you've got a pretty good chance to take off and land. And we complain if Wi-Fi's out for 15 minutes.
But that's not the complaints these days anymore. The tarmac delays, the first of all, the staff, the other passengers, the unruly passengers themselves.
You've been flying Spirit.
No, I have not been flying Spirit, but nonetheless, it's not like That can't happen on your flight.
What's your worst unruly passenger story? Then we're getting Dana's thing.
Well, my worst unruly passenger story is like the kid. Like, okay, here's
All of it?
First of all,
Whole travel.
there was I had the unfortunate experience of sitting in between two passengers once. One of them had a baby, and the other one.
How dare they?
Well, I mean, look, I don't mind the baby as long as it doesn't cry. But if it's wailing,
Then we're throwing that thing out.
and it's next to me, yeah, I got a problem with it.
I'm sure
right?
you never cried as a baby.
Actually,
I think you cried last week in the production suite.
my father said I came out not crying, but that's a whole nother story. Anyway, one had a baby crying, right, and the other was eating something that she brought from outside the plane.
Was it fish?
It was like lo mein or something like that. And guess what? Goes through a little turbulence. The lo mein ends up on me and my sneakers. I lost it.
Better than the baby landing.
I mean, at that point, the baby was
Vish,
mute. I couldn't hear it. I was so livid
Vish, I'll
that
do
the
you
lo
one.
mein got on my sneakers.
Well, but people don't understand. Vish's most prized possessions are his sneakers. So was it a clutch sneaker pair?
Yeah, it was a clutch sneaker pair that I was wearing, but and I had to throw them out. They were my Thunder 4.
Okay, so your take is we've brought a low quality customer experience to airplaning, so much so that they are taking themselves out.
It's the paradigm. It's like, it's not that how do I make every passenger's experience more first class. It's more like the next step is we're going to introduce standing room only for 5-hour flights
the
across
Greyhound
country.
bus in the sky. What do you think, Dana? Alexa, has air travel degraded?
I want to go off what he said because I want to do you one even better about being trapped in a sandwich. I was in between a married couple and they were working. So here I am. I'm trying to sleep. I don't watch anything on the plane because I actually genuinely try to sleep, even though that's a hard in itself. And they're like doing this whole number here where they're like imagine you're me, and then and then you're like, hey, did you get the numbers for like season 2, quarter, whatever? And I'm like, I mean, do you want to just switch with me? Like your wife is like asking.
No, they didn't want the middle seat.
I'm like, but you're like hunching over me, and I'm just like, you know what I mean? I want to just chill out. Like you're having a full blown conversation.
I would have joined it.
You would have joined it?
Yeah, I would have just started throwing out numbers.
That's how you would have got them to stop talking.
Well, because obviously the booking decision that was made right there was they were like, well, neither of us want to sit in the middle seat. And so if we book these others, there's a chance that the middle will be empty. But then when the middle is full, you obviously, the protocol dictates that you give that person either the aisle or the window seat because you let the married couple sit together.
That's more hell than a baby because it's ongoing conversation for 4 hours. By the way, it was Southwest, so there was no booking. You just like go in there and you hope.
Wait, that's even worse.
I know.
It was open seated.
Yeah, I know.
You buried the lead.
They made the conscious decision of, taking the 2 best spots and leaving me in the middle to suffer. So
is it my white privilege that I hate the Southwest boarding system where you've got to get there in advance, you got to stand in the line, and if you booked your ticket late, you're C42 and you're
such a
that's the standing room only version.
That's your argument.
That's
so
my
how do
argument.
we save it? All right, we got to
deregulate flying in this country. We need
a teleport. We need a self-teleport.
Well, I mean, that should be on the table too, but at least flying cars. The Jetsons is 70 years old at this point. I thought I'd be having it by the 2000s. We're 25 years into the 21st century, and we still don't have flying cars. I want my flying cars.
Let me just say something.
Individual flying
but
aircraft.
how do we get there? Well, okay, fine. There's a lot of things people.
I took notes on this, Vish. You're gonna like that. I actually took notes on this. So I was trying to tune into what was going on in Newark because I've never been there. But so
you've never been to Newark?
No, thank God. One thing.
I don't blame you.
The air traffic control towers. They're about 40 years old. So the question of outdated, yes, hard yes. It needs to
40 years old is not outdated.
Whoa.
Took that a little hard.
But also,
take it easy.
Sean Duffy was being interviewed about all this because I think he got some hit back that while all this was going down, I guess he was, I don't know, posting about eating tacos or something. And I'm like, well, what's wrong with that? Yesterday was Tuesday. Naturally, it's Taco Tuesday.
Yeah.
And also, he didn't know this was going to go down. Don't blame this man. Let him enjoy his tacos. Then we can talk about air traffic control. Okay? He doesn't have a crystal ball. He can't foresee what's going to happen.
I just think this is. I completely reject your premise that this is a broad problem with air transit. I think this is uniquely Newark's trashiness, which you would appreciate more if you'd ever been there. I am banned from Newark, New Jersey.
You're banned?
Because you asked me to go give a speech during COVID in 2021 to the New York Young Republican Club, and this happened.
The New York Young Republican Club that allegedly snuck into Jersey City last night to hold a gala fundraiser after they couldn't find a venue in their own city due to the pandemic. So from the videos on social media and certainly this picture, there is no obvious attempt to enforce social distancing or face masks. That guy in the middle, the tall, handsome fella in the gray suit, that is Representative Matt Gaetz. And based on his past performances, it is obvious being a knucklehead is not beyond the pale for him. And that's Matt again, earlier this year. Kind of a scene out of Dr. Strangelove. What a fool. He and they should be ashamed of themselves. He is not welcome. I hope you're watching, Matt. You are not welcome in New Jersey, and frankly, I don't ever want you back in this state.
Look, we've all seen how unpredictable things can get, whether it's supply chain issues, unexpected emergencies, or just trying to get a doctor to prescribe you what you already know you need. It's become harder than it should be. That's why I trust All Family Pharmacy. They're not just another online pharmacy. They're changing the game. They put you first, giving you the freedom to order what you need when you need it, so you're never left without essential medications. They've got everything: ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, antibiotics. Vish gets his daily maintenance medications there. You get emergency kits and so much more. I get my magnesium supplements. Over 200 medications are ready to ship. And yes, you can order in bulk to be prepared. Their process is super simple. Just fill out a quick online form and one of their licensed doctors provides the prescription. You get no hassling from insurance. You get no more waiting around or being unreasonably limited in your options. It's real medical freedom. You're in control just like it should be. Stock up. Make sure you got the meds you need on hand. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/Matt. Use code MATT10 for 10% off your next order. Trust me, these guys are doing it right. So I've got my big question that I want to ask, and it is about kind of where we stand at this moment in the Trump presidency. Because I have talked to a lot of my MAGA friends who are like, oh, Fauci's not in jail yet. Liz Cheney hasn't been strung up by her entrails. A bunch of faceless bureaucrats haven't been frog-marched on their way to indictments or cells. And, this isn't what we wanted. And I'm sitting there like, are you kidding me? Donald Trump is the president of the United States. He is totally in his bag right now. He has sealed the border. He has got corporate America so afraid that something might say DEI on it, that they are promoting people based on merit to an extent that we haven't seen in the last 10 years. Our military is no longer run by a bunch of generals in dresses anymore. And you have a resetting of the global economy that we have needed for so long. And because of the unique circumstances that resulted in Donald Trump becoming the president, having 4 years of runway, not having a Democrat Congress impeaching him, not having a Democrat Senate blocking most of his nominees, and now it might not be all of the real estate you wanted to acquire. But from this guy who's been around the sun 43 times, I can tell you, if this isn't what you were hoping for and praying for and knocking on doors for and making phone calls for, you're going to be real disappointed with politics in life. Sometimes you don't get it all. This is getting more than we ever have at any of my time in activism or public service. So I want to know, are you black-pilled or white-pilled, Dana Alexa?
I have no idea what white-pilled is, but we're also going to make Alcatraz great again. We're going to revamp the prison system.
But no, are you, as you look at the Trump presidency, do you look at it with a sense that the glass is half full or half empty?
The presidency?
Yeah, how he's doing.
Best. It's the best in my lifetime. Trump 2.0 has been so much better than Trump. He's so much more outspoken. He doesn't care as much about what the media thinks. I think he doesn't want to admit it, but I think he cared a little bit. Now it's just like nothing's off the table.
You like Unchained Trump.
I love it. And I actually encourage the tweeting. But see, my dad, he says in his first term, he was playing it wrong and he was ruffling too many feathers. I thought it was great because Trump is a mastermind, and he's a mastermind at social media. I don't even think the Alcatraz thing was real. I think he did it to troll, but the media runs headway with it. and they don't look back. And then, next thing you know, there's the CNN panel of 6 people like flipping out, short-circuiting about, oh my God, is Alcatraz going to revamp again? And no.
We don't know whether to have the stakeout at Alcatraz or Greenland. We don't know what's going to be invaded first.
He controls, it's a mind control.
Yeah, we went from CNN staking out Roger Stone's house, waiting for the SWAT raid, to figuring out whether or not we get Alcatraz, Greenland, or Panama next. Vish, are you black-pilled or white-pilled?
I am 95% white-pilled with a 5% caveat, okay? There is so much to be white-pilled about. First of all, the Overton window is shifting at light speed at the moment. We could not have asked for something better in America.
You wouldn't have got that with a Doug Burgum or a Tim Scott or a Nikki Haley or even a Ron DeSantis.
Correct. So that is a huge help. And every second that happens, major win for us. That's one. Two, just the terms of appointments and the not what just Trump, but everybody underneath him, the kind of people we're getting in, the credentials that they'll be able to operate in the political system in the future with you can't put a price on that. And so that is also something that I'm white-pilled about. And then in terms of policy, speed, the muzzle velocity of this presidency, right? Every day is dumping executive orders and keeping the media on their toes or distracted with shiny objects. I love that pace setting, because a future president, Republican president, might need to also essentially promise that they can move at the speed that they've seen is now possible, right, in a presidency. That's also good. So there are all these sort of actions and things that are happening, and the second and third order effects of that are just incredible, priceless. And that's what makes me 95% white-pilled on the presidency. But the 5% is... And to the point that you brought up where, CNN was staking out watching Roger Stone get swatted and frog marched out of his home, right? And let's we not forget Mar-a-Lago was raided, where these agents were sniffing the first lady's panties, or we don't know what they were doing, but they were doing something that Melania was not very happy with, and she makes it evident that she wasn't happy with that. And so there's a certain kind of desire.
Yeah. When you're raided, it's intrusive, right, Vish?
Absolutely, I know firsthand. Highly intrusive. But the punitive aspect of the presidency is something I think that not just the people with the base want to see, but it's also the deterrence factor that we need to set.
A judge